about comics. Let's talk about comics. Let's talk about comics. Let's talk about comics. Hello, Bay YouTube. It is Charles here with another comic book review, and today we're going to be taking a look at Spawn number 363 from Image Comics. Last month's issue left us with a major cliffhanger of this new foe that Al Simmons was battling called the Mandarin being revealed to be his dead wife, Wanda. I literally had my jaw on the floor. I was knocked out by that revelation. There will be some spoilers in this review, so be forewarned about it. But this is a couple things. I think it did a few things very well, and it did one thing that I wasn't such a big fan of, though I understand why they did it, and it made absolute sense the reason they did it. Just me personally, I would have liked them to pull on that thread a little bit more before cutting it off. But I understand why they didn't make sense. If you haven't been following Spawn since the War for Hell ended in 350, the dead zones were open all over the earth. The Spawns and Angels didn't have their powers, but their powers were returned when Nyx, who took the throne of Hell, had to resurrect Al Simmons after dying. And in this, we find out a lot more about what was behind the dead zones being open. And it wasn't so much something Al Simmons did, is what I thought it was, but it was intentional by Nyx. She had stripped the Angels and the Spawn of power to build up her own power and take the fight to heaven and earth. So that was a big revelation. And when you look back on it, it all makes sense now. And her biggest frustration in this is the fact that she had to resurrect Al Simmons and close the dead zones earlier than she had planned on, restoring all the powers to the Spawns and Angels. So I like how they wrapped that up there. It's no longer a mystery. But what she was doing, if you go a few issues back, she was having her minions gather the dead from the War for Hell's throne to build something. And that was something they didn't even touch on for a few issues. But we finally get to see what they were creating out of those bodies of the fallen soldiers and for the War of Hell. And it is tremendous. And the way it is drawn, I would show you a picture, I would show you a reveal, but I don't want to give that away. That's how momentous this development is. And Al Simmons was a key part of her plan for that weapon against heaven and earth. And so I really, really enjoyed the way they tied up that thread and the way they tied up that story in this issue. And they've also touched on how it's affecting the wider world as opposed to the Hellspawn and Angels. But now we're going to get to the part which I personally, it's not even a matter of I didn't like it, I didn't think it was produced well. No, I think it was done well. I understand why they did it, and it made sense. But when I talked about, the battle that was ending 362 between the Mandarin, who was revealed to be Wanda, and Al Simmons, that's where we start off with this issue. And they really have some emotional moments here of Al Simmons realizing that is his wife. And he alludes to certain things, referencing how people have tried to use his dead wife in the past to manipulate him. And that right there is something that I should have taken as a clue to what was going to happen later in this issue. Because later in this issue, we find out that the Mandarin, in fact, was not Wanda. He was merely taking her appearance to manipulate Al Simmons. And it was to get close to him, to disarm him, and to strike at him with this mystical sword. But we find out quickly after, they reveal this plan and he's stabbed, that Al Simmons used it as a trap, and he knew all along it wasn't Wanda. And all of the emotion and drama that we experienced was Al Simmons playing it into the hand of this Mandarin character in order to get them to drop their guard. And in essence, stabbing him, what they did is they thought that they were going to drain his power, but in fact, they surrendered their weapon to him. And, he makes it a point to say, you're not going to get your weapon back until I say you get it back. And so I thought that was very hip, and I think it was a much needed show of power by Spawn, because since he's gotten his powers back, we forget about, I think because it's been so long that he hasn't had his powers, we forget the strength of Spawn. And so letting himself be vulnerable and get attacked and really blow it off is like, oh yeah, Spawn is back. And so I understand that it was used as a show of power and intelligence and manipulation on Al's part, but I would have personally liked to see them maybe extend this a couple of issues, and maybe even had Wanda actually be the Mandarin. But that's why I don't write comics, I just talk about them. Todd McFarlane is the man, he knows what he's doing, and his ideas are better than mine. So I'm not complaining, I'm just inserting my 2 cents in here. And then at the end of this issue, the weapon or monster that Hell has been building is making its appearance on Earth. And so it is a very, very big issue, an exciting issue. I actually read it twice. I enjoyed it that much, and I wanted to get, a full understanding of all that was going on. And there's so many different moving parts and story beats that even with the spoilers I showed you, you're still going to get a lot of story and a lot of enjoyment out of this. And She-Spawn makes an appearance, and so it looks like we're going to get her and the Redeemer and Medieval Spawn interacting with Al Simmons again in the main run book. It was written by Todd McFarlane. He did the script and the plot. The art was Brett Booth, who did an incredible job, especially with the weapon that Hell was creating. And the inker was Adelso Corona. And so a brilliant, brilliant team. I mean, look at this first panel here. If that doesn't draw your attention, and even on the next page, when we see these 2 panels right here, you can really see the emotion and depth in the eyes of Al Simmons. Really coming to grips with holding his wife again, or so we believe. He knew it was a ruse, but it was a ruse with a purpose. So that's my thoughts on it. Definitely, if you are a fan of Spawn and you haven't got 363, I don't know why you haven't. If this sounds like something interesting to you, I cannot suggest it enough. Right now, my favorite books out of all the ones I'm reading are, I'll say, the Spawn universe, because there's so many different titles, yet I enjoy them all. We have Spawn. We have King Spawn, which is a parallel story told from a different angle. We have The Scorch, which is a team of Spawn. In the same universe, same story timeline, but different angle as well. We have Rat City, which is a futuristic take on Spawn. And there's a new one called The Book of Nyx, which goes back 20 years, explaining some of the history of her. Sam and Twitch, which is a hard-boiled detective story set in the Spawn universe. And there are other books as well that are, I enjoy them all. Oh, and Gunslinger Spawn and Deadly Tales of Gunslinger. I happily pay my $4 a month to get in each of these stories. And yes, you heard me right. Finally, unfortunately, Image Comics has caved, and they have raised the price of Spawn from $2.99 to $3.99, which has been the industry standard. But if there was a quality dip off, or something, I might be upset about that. But every time I read a Spawn book, I thoroughly enjoy myself. And so I will happily pay $1 more to keep getting this goodness from Image Comics. And if you don't have a local comic book store, I always suggest my friends at Coffee and a Comic. Go to coffeeandacomic.com. They have an easy-to-use website and great deals on shipping and customer service. And if you are in Wyoming, check out Spellbound Apothecary Entertainment. When you order over $35 worth of books, you get free shipping in Wyoming. And the guy that runs that store actually ran the store that I used to go to back in the day when I first got into comics. And so it's good to support a friend like that has a business that's passionate about comic books. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Until then, keep reading them books. You know I'm going to.